Call me crazy, but boredom is not a feeling you want to have while playing a video game. If a game is boring, if it's not actively entertaining you, then that means it's a bad game, right? That seems perfectly logical. But after spending some time in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2's hardcore mode, that might not always be true. If you're not familiar with it, hardcore mode essentially removes many of the conveniences found in KCD2's game design, like fast travel, your location on the map, and fight indicators, while also forcing you to pick at least 3 negative perks that follow you throughout the game and heavily annoy you at times. I got a lot of comments from you telling me to try hardcore mode, saying it's the best way to play the game, so I finally decided to try it out. Without further ado, I started a new game and was immediately asked to pick 3 not very good perks. I went with Somnambulant, Picky Eater, and Menace. You can pause the video and read the descriptions if you would like. There isn't a whole lot to say about the intro. My first time fighting was the combat tutorial with Hans, which actually wasn't nearly as difficult as I expected.
Oh, for fuck's sake, you're unstoppable!
The directional indicators are gone, so you have to visually read your opponent's stance, but unless you're planning to rely on master strikes, this isn't much of a challenge. Your health and stamina are hidden though, which I can definitely see getting annoying. You never want to get winded in a fight, especially in a group setting, and unfortunately that happens quite a lot in hardcore mode. Ruh-roh. I get to the lovely Bajena's house, resolve a conflict in peace, and heal Capon before setting off into the world. Once the map opens up to us is when we can finally put hardcore mode to the test. Unlike real life, the first thing I wanted to do was seek employment, and since I went the blacksmith route on my first playthrough, I decided to make the trek southwest to the miller this time. But it was not going to be that easy. See, I put 80 hours into my first playthrough, and even that felt a bit rushed. But even so, I felt like I knew the map well enough to traverse it without a waypoint. How wrong I was, because somehow I got lost in the woods for a cool 25 minutes, which in a game like Kingdom Come feels like a lifetime. Unlike other video games, the slower, quieter parts of KCD can get boring. Because the game is based on real medieval history, the forests are vast, with few to no landmarks or points of interest, just endless stretches of trees. And because this is hardcore mode, there is no fast travel. I got stuck in this forest for so long and could do nothing about it except try to navigate my way out. And this raises some interesting discourse I want to have with you today, because while hardcore can get very tedious and inconvenient and slow if you don't know what you're doing, I wasn't hating my experience, and I'll tell you why. But first, I did actually encounter some bandits in the woods. I ended up taking them out with ease, and I'm proud of that because what a journey I have had with this series. With both KCD1 and 2, those early hours used to be so painful and rage-filled. I used to get absolutely rocked by a single enemy, never mind 2. So being able to take these guys out without a second thought, in hardcore mode nonetheless, is crazy to me. I guess if you spend enough time doing something, whether that be a game or a creative endeavor, you are bound to get good eventually. It's inevitable. So my wander through the woods is long and tedious. I end up finding my way to Nabokov Fortress somehow, which is not a place I thought I would appear in, but it was close to the miller, and from there I could figure out the rest of my way. But not before this happened, and genuinely ruined my whole day. Are you serious right now? Where is the logic in that, chat? Eventually, I see it in the horizon. The miller. Off topic, but this place is so beautiful and idyllic. I get hired within 20 seconds flat and assigned my own bed, which I rush off to before I trip over my laces and straight up die. But then I quickly get reminded that I'm never safe in this mode as I wake up all the way at Trotsky Castle due to my sleepwalking perk, and oh boy how I regret choosing that one. No. No! I thought that it might be fun for the video, but I didn't really consider that I'd actually want to finish this run eventually, and now I'm way too far in to undo it. Great play from me. If you're new here, I'm actually known for thinking ahead like this. I decided that I am absolutely not making the trek back to the Miller again on foot, and end up doing something I'd never done before. I steal a horse. That's right, we're playing GTA. My victim is cumin scum, so I don't feel too bad about it, but I really start to panic when a witness walks past. I deal with that too though. I got a comment before telling me that hardcore mode essentially changes the way you approach Kingdom Come, and this is a prime example of that. In normal mode, I never once stole a horse. I was barely a thief or a criminal at all. But here, I'm poaching, lockpicking, and stealing horses out of desperation. Without fast travel or pebbles, simply running everywhere isn't viable the way it was early on in normal mode, where reaching major locations unlocked fast travel between them. And when I say going on foot isn't viable, I don't mean that it's difficult, but rather that it's time consuming and boring. I would rather be using that time doing something fun than just running. It's interesting because in my first playthrough, something like horse stealing could totally be avoided. It felt like a side mechanic rather than a relevant one, but that all changes in hardcore, where you really feel like a broke peasant on a mission. I've never felt more immersed in KCD than I do here, because everything feels grounded and brutal, like you're doing things out of pure desperation just to make a bit of progress. Anyway, I spent some time at the Miller, working, practicing my pickpocketing and stealth. By the way, for this run, I decided to go for a sort of stealth archer build. Welcome back, Skyrim. I've already been a swordsman before, so I wanted to take an entirely different approach this run. Going stealthy made the most sense, since it's the easiest way to deal with large groups of enemies, as I'd soon find out. My next move was to do the Huntsman Vostatex questline, because this was going to be the real proof of how hard this mode actually is. In my first run, this quest felt like the first sort of skill check when you go face to face with the bandits, but this time I felt quite confident in my combat abilities, so I wanted to put those to the test. It was going to be quite a journey up north from the Millers though. Jesus Christ be praised that I borrowed that horse from a good Christian. Little did I know that I'd be getting a skill check much earlier than I anticipated, however. After a generally peaceful ride, I got stopped by these two inconspicuous gentlemen here who wanted to sell me a very expensive apple. I declined as I did not have the funds, and that's when they got aggressive. I've been taking out these small fry bandits all run, so surely this wouldn't give me any trouble, right? Well, I did indeed win, but at the cost of my blood. This shouldn't be an issue though. I have plenty of bandages to spare. Oh. Well, I'll just ride to the nearest settlement and purchase some. I've got plenty of time. I find this tanner/fisherman place and try to trade with them. They don't sell bandages. My screen was getting too red for comfort now, and out of one last act of desperation, I tried to lockpick a chest in front of this lady and are there no good Christians around here? What happened to helping the injured and the poor? Huh? That is a good 20 minutes of my life wasted because of those bandits. And I can't even blame it on hardcore mode. This was absolutely an item organization issue. I hadn't prepared enough bandages for a fight like that, and now I've paid for it. I restarted, won the fight without getting bled, and by some miracle, successfully navigated my way to Vostatek's house. By the way, even though you can't see your location on the map, there is a simple workaround. You can ask any NPC for directions, which will pinpoint where you are. I used this a couple of times, but for the most part, the roads are pretty quiet, so I rarely ran into other travelers. To toot my own horn, I found my way here without any guidance, which I'm very pleased with. I speak to Vostachek's wife for the quest and head towards the tree that he's stuck in. I don't know how I didn't figure this out my first playthrough, but you can actually counterattack wolves directly after a parry, which made these guys fairly easy to beat. I carry the old drunk to his camp, which is an obnoxiously long task by the way, and then set off to retrieve his stolen horse from the bandits. It's really quite disgusting that people steal like this. My aggressive approach to the bandit camp didn't go too dandy the first few times. I wasn't wearing any armor, just standard clothes, so 2 slashes from a sword were enough to bleed me. The archers would also stand in the distance and just be a complete nuisance. I do really like how dangerous archers are in Kingdom Come. Generally in gaming they're more annoying than lethal, but here it's just so realistic that even 1 arrow can be enough to kill you. Anyway, I'd get only a few seconds of one-on-one dueling before the rest of the group was alerted, and at that point it was just too unbalanced, so I had to rethink my game plan. While my ego wanted me to keep retrying and win like this, I knew it would just take too long, so I succumbed to the shadows. I stabbed some guys in the back, some in their sleep, and never alerted a soul. It took me no time at all to clear the camp, which really opened my eyes to how powerful stealth is in this game. Again, this is just another example of how hardcore mode made me take a different approach to clearing enemies. With no combat indicators, Master Striking would be too unpredictable to rely on, so I'm forced to do things quietly, which I never felt the need to do in my original playthrough. This is great for replayability because I felt like I had learnt this game inside and out before, but here I am struggling with an early game quest. I've got to be honest with you, I doubted you guys when you begged me to try hardcore mode. When you told me that it completely changes the experience, I just did not believe it, but I get it now. While the changes in this mode are fairly minimal, less HUD elements, some negative perks, and no fast travel, I do think these add up and are enough to completely change how you play this game. For one, you have to really understand what you're playing. You have to learn the map. You have to use landmarks to get from point A to B, such as Trotsky Castle, which I've always loved seeing in the distance, but now it has an actual practical use for being there. Hardcore mode is boring. There's no other way to put it. It's not always that, but 70% of my time in the early game was spent preparing myself, making money, and traveling, rather than fighting and progressing the story. But this boredom creates 2 things. 1, an unrivaled immersion. While the base game is already fairly brutal in relativity to other open world RPGs, hardcore takes it to the next level. You actually feel present in this world, when it's just you and your thoughts lost in some pesky woods, glancing around and hoping you spot an exit, a settlement, a landmark, just anything at all. That struggle feels more real than in most games, and it creates a sort of connection between you and Henry. In those moments of boredom, you are stuck in his shoes. And the other thing that this boredom creates is payoff. There is such a sense of relief when you finally spot a traveler on the road and can ask for directions to find out where you are on the map. When you overcome a fight that you shouldn't have. When you finally catch some game to combat the perk that makes you hungry significantly faster. When you have all these limitations set on you, it is so much more rewarding to accomplish something in hardcore mode, to beat those odds. And it is tedious. If I loved Kingdom Come 2 even 1% less, I would not dedicate this time to beating the game again. But if you love this world as much as me, if you want to feel like you're a part of it, hardcore mode is the right choice. I wouldn't recommend it to someone on their first playthrough. I think it's best to learn what the game is about before you dive headfirst into this, but if you are considering a replay at some point, make sure to try hardcore mode. That's all from me. I'd be happy to make a follow-up video in the future updating you on the run if there's enough demand for it, so make sure to comment if you'd like to see that. If you want to see more of my Kingdom Come 2 content, check out one of these videos, particularly this one where I discuss the lovely city of Gutenberg and why it's so damn good. I'm gonna clock out now. See ya.